Under the Gun, sponsored by CrushLivePoker.com.
The first and only site out there specifically geared to work on your live poker game. Live poker is coming back, and when it does, why not be prepared? Check out CrushLivePoker.com. Get 1 month free using the code DTA501. Once again, that's DTA501. You'll see the gentleman above me. That is the always good-looking Ryan Feldman. Ryan Feldman, of course, from Live at the Bike, formerly from Live at the Bike, formerly from ESPN, has a new venture, a new endeavor that we'll talk to him about. Before we do, I will let you know what I'm drinking tonight. We've got an 18. We've got a Glenfiddich single malt Scotch whiskey. It's an 18, and of course, we are using the ice cubes. The rocks, so you don't actually get watered down whiskey in there, but you get the cold. I highly recommend those for anybody who drinks whiskey. Really, honestly, even if you like mixed drinks. Ryan, for you.
I do. That's pretty much all I drink is mixed drinks.
Yeah, even if you like a Sex on the Beach or something, you don't want it watered down, use these.
There you
go. And I've got a beer. So I actually put this out on Instagram. I have a Will You Shut Up Man beer. And I also have a Hot Mess Inside a Dumpster Fire Inside a Train Wreck 2020 Blonde Ale. It actually says that.
The first one was the Joe Biden thing?
Yeah, they're both basically references to
political beers?
I think so. By the way, have you made any election bets?
Well, no, I didn't bet at all on the election. I really didn't have a strong sense of what was going to happen. But there were 2 political bets that I made this year, and I lost both of them.
That's not good. Hey, you keep talking. Hold on a second. Hold that thought. I locked my family at the door. We're not restarting this, but I locked my family outside. Hang on.
That sounds irresponsible. So I made 2 political bets this year. The first one I made was on Bernie Sanders winning the primary election. He was a huge favorite. Lost that one. The second one, I bet.
I'm back.
I bet on, with Mattisau actually, that Kanye West would not be on any state's presidential ballots.
You won that?
No, I lost. He was on the ballot.
Well, he was vice president, wasn't he?
On California, but there was like 15, 20 other states where he was on the presidential ballot.
No way! Wow. So how much did you bet?
$1,000.
Okay, that's not too bad.
When Kanye first announced that he was going to run, I thought it was a joke, and I didn't think he was actually going to fill out the paperwork, so I bet against that.
I think that was probably what most of us thought.
Yeah. So
in all fairness, I think when Donald Trump said he was going to run, we all thought that was a joke too. How did that turn out?
Yeah.
By the way, I have been taking a ton of action on the election. I'll talk about that later, but essentially I had a little bit of money on Biden. I'd hedged a bunch, but I had money on Biden at like plus 125. I had money on Biden at like minus 140. And then I actually put money on Trump at plus 200. So I was really hedged out and kind of like doing really well for the election.
That's good.
But I have taken a lot of money post-election on people that think Trump is still going to win.
Yeah, so you see it as free money. Yeah.
It's never free money because there's always a chance.
Yeah, there's always a chance, yeah.
But you're a gambler, you know this stuff. But I don't think it's free money. But I think that's a situation where, what might be a 1 in 250 chance, I'm giving 10 to 1.
Right.
So
makes sense.
I've given as high as 15 to 1. I've given 15 to 1, 14 to 1, a couple of 8 to 1. So it's averaging out to like 10.5 to 1. So I feel pretty good about it. But we'll see how it plays out. Anyway, Ryan, before we continue on and before I get too drunk, I want to talk. Like I said, many people know you from Live at the Bike. Not many people know you from ESPN. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was the coolest job ever. I remember actually you coming in the commentary booth when I was doing the World Series and you saying to me, hey, you're like, I want your job. And I was like, man, I want your job. And you're like, let's trade. And it turns out you basically jumped into my realm and more because now you're like, businessman as well. And, you were one of the owners of Live at the Bike. You do commentary and all that. What made you leave ESPN? And for many people, for many guys especially, not to be sexist, but for many guys out there, it's like a dream job to work for ESPN.
Yeah. And, it was for a long time. I always wanted to work in sports. That was my goal. My parents will tell you that since I was a kid, I was always watching Sports Center, loved sports. Like, that's just what I was into. And, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be athletic. Realized that would happen. So then I went to college for that. That was kind of my dream for a bit. When I got out of college, I realized how tough it was to be to get on TV. Like, it's just a tough thing to break into, right? And I wasn't that great, at it compared to some of these other people out there. And so I went a different realm. I started writing, and I was like, maybe that'll get me on TV. So I started writing, doing all that. Everything I did for the next few years after college was all in sports media, and I didn't want to change that. When I'm set on something, I put all into it, and I give up. And so I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make it somehow. And I stayed in sports media for a long time, and mostly in basketball, in the basketball realm, because that was my favorite sport. I ended up getting the job at ESPN as a researcher, which I didn't know that was even a job till like a year before I got it. Basically, I came up with
did you think all the guys on TV just came up with their own shit?
I really had no idea. I just wasn't aware that it was a department. But I didn't even think about it. And then I started interning at CBS Sports, learned about it, and then ended up getting the job at ESPN. And I was like, wow, this is great. This is perfect. Like, I get to work with on-air people. I get to get my, information that I come up with on the air. I'm around all these sports people. I get to work on this campus. Like, it was really cool, So it was great. Those first few years, I put so much time and energy into it. There's nothing else to do in Connecticut, Eventually, I started playing a lot of poker up there too on my off days. But
at this point, online poker was a thing, right?
No, this was 2011 to 14 is when I was in Connecticut.
Okay, so it was just after.
Yeah. So I would go to Foxwoods my off days, play there, come back, work 5 days, work my butt off at ESPN, and I loved it. And then I ended up transferring to LA to work an NBA Countdown. So I was out here for 2 years. When I got out to LA, I started playing even more poker because the casinos were closer to me. I got more into it. That's when I started. I played on Live the Bike a few times. I got into the commentary a few times. And I was really more into poker. I gradually got more into poker than sports, right? Like, I was kind of burnt out. I've been into sports my whole life. It's been my passion.
Right.
When you work at ESPN and you're consumed by it all day, it wears on you. And sometimes for some people, I guess for me, I was less passionate about it, especially about other sports other than basketball. And I liked working on NBA Countdown. I enjoyed that a lot because I liked the people. I liked working with the talent. I liked coming with basketball ideas. But I didn't enjoy as much working in other sports, working on SportsCenter. And then, as you've probably heard over the years, ESPN had a lot of layoffs. So they laid off a bunch of the better managers, the managers that I liked more, and it became more corporate. And the feel of it was different. It wasn't as fun anymore. They asked for different things. They didn't care as much about the actual product I was putting out as opposed to like other things that I was doing. So I got less into it. I was less motivated. I was more into poker. All of that kind of wore on me. And eventually I just decided, you know what? After this season, after the NBA Finals, I think I'm going to walk away and just like try to play poker for a couple months and see what happens. Like, that was always like, I had so many friends in poker, as you know. Back then, I was friends with so many people, a lot of players. I lived with some poker players back then, and I was always jealous of them, the freedom they had and the ability to just play poker all the time. And so I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can make it. So I took a few months off, quit ESPN. Everyone thought I was crazy. But I just, I was actually happy with how my parents reacted because I thought they'd be really mad at me, but they actually were really supportive and were like, you know what, if you're really passionate about this and you want to go after your dreams, do it. You're only young once. And so I was like, I'm just gonna play poker for a few months, see what happens. It didn't go that great the first few months, but then Live the Bike came up. I found out that Nicole Juergens was leaving ESPN. She didn't want to produce anymore. And she was selling her shares. So I was like, oh my God, this would be the perfect job. I love poker.
Let's transition to that in a second, okay? Because I do want to. I mean, listen. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on, and we might get, like I said earlier, Ryan has a really exciting new endeavor that he just announced. That'll be basically another live stream cash game at Hustler Casino here in LA. We'll talk about that in a second. We might get his partner on later on to talk about that. But one of the reasons I wanted to have you on was I feel like. And I've been bugging to have you on for a while, but I wanted kind of I wanted all of you, right? I didn't want you to have to censor yourself, and I knew you might have had to before that.
Keep
So
talking, by the way. Just I'm stepping away for 1 second because my dog is trying to get something. But
look at this. I'm opening doors. You're stepping away from dog. It's good. But I feel like Ryan's journey is what is intriguing to me. He has been through a lot. There aren't a lot of people I know who would have a job and a successful job at that and a career at a place like ESPN, which for many guys growing up, especially guys in their 30s and stuff like that, they grew up thinking like, wow, I could work at ESPN. That'd be amazing. Oh my gosh. I have noticed throughout my life that a lot of times I've always been one to think you work too often to not love your job and to not be passionate about your job. But oftentimes when you take a passion and you make that your work, you do lose your passion for it. At least you can. That can be the case. And that's unfortunate sometimes. I know a lot of people out there who, were passionate about poker at one point or another and lost that passion because it became their job. And I guess that and some of the managerial decisions and changes at ESPN were some of the reasons why you left.
Yeah.
But I remember when you left. Let's go back to Connecticut, though. What got you into poker? There's a question. So I put out on Twitter, I said, hey, who has some questions for Ryan? I got a few here. One from Sean McCormick, of course, of Aria, says, when did your passion for poker start?
I mean, I first learned how to play in college in my fraternity in 2004.
Were you playing online then?
That's like, so first I saw some of my fraternity brothers playing like at our fraternity house, and I just started like learning, asked them questions, whatever. And then they were playing online as well. So I watched them play online, and then I was like, oh, let me try this. Obviously I was terrible back then, but I was learning, and I would go to we'd do like $20 sit and goes, or we'd have like little cash games. And
where'd you go to school? Yeah.
So I started playing in college.
Where?
Temple in Philly.
Temple. Okay.
And then after college, so I played off and on in college. After college, again, I would just play off and on. I'd like play for a month or two, run some money up, lose it all, quit. A few months later, try to get,
By the way, Temple, Bill Cosby, baby.
That's right. He's the best.
Wait, by the way, I remember back in the day. I remember back in the day, by the way, before Bill Cosby was a known rapist, and when he was on the Cosby Show, I remember when he used to make bets, and he would actually have to wear the Duke shirt on the Cosby Show.
Wait, I don't get it.
He made bets like when Temple was good.
Oh, when Temple was
basketball, right?
Yeah.
And it would be like NCAA tournament time, and he would make bets, and they would it's kind of like when mayors have to wear the opposing team's jersey. Right. Yeah. They used to do that, right? So it was pretty. Yeah. I remember that back then. Like I said, back when we all liked Bill Cosby, back when he was just giving us Jello and not Jello shots.
Yeah, he's no longer now. Bob Saget is the most famous.
Bob Saget?
We've been associated with from Temple, yeah.
I love Bob Saget. Anyway, okay, sorry. So you're playing it. You're learning how to play the game. You're playing $20 sit and goes. As you mentioned already, you're a kind of guy who throws yourself into everything. So that passion, you're just like, I want to do this.
Yeah, and then we'd go to Atlantic City sometimes and play there, tournaments, whatever. It was casual. So for during college, for a few years after college, and then 2010, I think it was, Parks opened up. Or the Parks Poker Room opened up, which was a town next to where I grew up. So I started playing there a lot. One summer, I didn't have a lot of work, and I had a lot more free time during the summer.
What the hell is that?
My dog playing with like a ball.
Okay. That's awesome.
I'll show you my dog later. But so I started playing in parks a lot, and I just was like, again, I never read books, never read anything on the internet. I just kind of tried to teach myself, observe, learn, I think. And I started playing in parks a lot. And I played like 1-2, eventually 2-5. And yeah, I just played there like 4 or 5 days a week for one summer. And then, and then 2011, I was playing a lot. I started losing, and I was like, man, I got to get my stuff together. Like I got to get a full-time job. Like I've never had an actual full-time job before. Like I got to figure this out. At that point I was like 26, and I'm like, all right, I need to figure out what I'm going to do.
Wait, you're 26 now? So what were you living on?
No. I said, no, I'm 35 now. I'm saying,
saying then you were 26. What were you at that point?
Oh,
what were you living on?
Like, what do you mean? Like I was living at home. So, but no, I had a lot of freelance jobs. I ran a basketball league in the summer. an outdoor summer basketball league in my town. I coached high school basketball. That doesn't make any money, but I did a lot of freelance.
Did you grow up like a basketball fiend? I mean, is that how you got into?
Yeah, I was always into basketball since I was a little kid. But yeah, so I was doing a lot of freelance stuff. I was like writing for newspapers and websites. I had my own college basketball NBA draft website I was doing. You know, I was never making much money, but I was just living at home, was surviving. Eventually I moved out like to another place, but still I was like always barely surviving, you know. Play poker, try to win some money. Sports bet, try to win some money, you know, play blackjack, try to win some, you know, whatever. And eventually I'm like, I have no money. Like I got to get a job. So I got an internship with CBS Sports as a researcher through some connections. And then after that, the ESPN job. Anyway, but yeah, so I played a lot of poker at Parks. Then when I moved to ESPN that first year, I didn't play at all. After like a year.
Because I mean, assuming at that point you're like, holy shit, I just got a job at ESPN. You just threw yourself all in.
I mean, I literally was spending all my time just working on projects. Even when I was at home, I was like working on ideas because I really wanted to get ahead and be like the best researcher. You know, I always want to be the best.
Was there no path at ESPN? I mean, I've heard different things from people that have worked there through the years. Was there no path for you to go from researcher to producer to, you know, move up?
No, there was. I mean, and that was like when my manager would ask me like, you know, what's your goal? Like, you know, because everyone would have different things they'd want to do next. I honestly wasn't passionate about anything, but that was like the normal thing was like, all right, I guess I could be a producer. It was either that or like be an ESPN.com writer.
Well, I could have seen you like hosting. I mean, the TV gigs are so hard. I remember when I was a kid. My brother-in-law went to Syracuse with my sister, and my brother-in-law actually wanted to be a broadcaster. It's kind of funny the fact that he's a lawyer now, and I've been broadcasting for years, but I remember my dad sitting me down and just talking to us about it, and he was just like, it's a tough gig because when you turn on any sports show, there's only one professional broadcaster, and then it's just a bunch of ex-athletes, you know, the stars of the game, whether it's Charles Barkley or whether it's, you know, somebody watching the NFL. So it's a really hard gig to get into if you're a Ryan Feldman or a David Tuchman or basically not an athlete. But I could have seen you doing like a sports talk radio for sure.
Yeah. I mean, before ESPN, I was trying to get into radio. That was like something I was really going hard at. I had a few close calls. Actually, at one point I moved to Florida. I lived there for 2 months and I was on the air on a radio station, but it was
that's cool.
It was a mess. So I moved back.
Okay.
But yeah, I worked at sports radio station in Philly for a long time as a producer, which is like answering the phone, like playing the audio, like working with the talent, all that. And I did that, but I never got on the air really, other than like little cameos talking with the on-air person while I was producing. Once I got there as a researcher, I never really thought it was realistic for me to get on the air. Like I kind of threw that dream aside because I knew that's not realistic. And so I just focused on researching. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like that's the problem with that job is like, I didn't know what my goal was. Like, what am I going to do in 20 years? Am I going to be like just a better researcher? You know, am I going to be a research manager, a producer? Like I think
it'd be throwing a big party for you and just be like, Ryan Feldman's been here 30 years researching the NBA. Well done, Ryan.
There's guys in the department that are like that. Like it's not even.
Listen, I'm saying it as a joke to you, but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean, and I didn't see that for myself, so I really didn't want that. But I didn't know. I didn't have. You know, you should always have goals and passions in your life for what you want to do. And at that point, I was enjoying what I was doing, but I really didn't know what So, in Connecticut, I started playing a lot of poker after a year or so because I got back into it because I was just bored on my off days. So I just go to Fox with the Mohegan and just like stay over at the hotel and just play 2 days straight, like just go right from the casino to work, you know, and
at that point you're like, at that point you could do your job kind of blindfolded and you were kind of half mailing it in and why not be tired? By the way, before you continue, shout out to this guy, Glenn Schild, who worked for Sky Sports for many years. When I was covering the NFL for Sky Sports for a few years, he was our research guy and he was always in our ear and it was amazing because it would be like, you know, whatever, like Phillip Rivers would have thrown his like, you know, fourth pick of the game and he'd be like, and right away he'd be like, Tuck, this is the fourth time Phillip Rivers has thrown 4 picks in a game. And 6 seconds later, I'd be like, well, this is the 4th time Phillip Rivers has done this, you know? And it just made me feel so smart. And so I loved having him because it was very Albert Brooks-esque.
Yeah, it was fun for me too, doing that type of role and just hearing this stuff on the air. Like it was great. It was
kind of
honestly,
validation, right? You've done the work. Here it
exactly.
is, and then boom, it's out there.
Yeah, and once in a while, an on-air talent would like say my name on the air, be like, "Oh, Ryan Feldman gave you the stat." So yeah, that stuff was really cool. I did. I got a lot of stuff published on ESPN.com. Wrote a lot of like stats related articles that you can still find places. So that was probably one of the more fun things I was able to do there. But yeah, so
At this point of your life, you're not thinking I'm a professional poker player, but you are all in, because I mean I get the feeling you love poker though at this point.
When I was in Connecticut and I was playing a lot, I got really into it. Like that's when it probably changed. I mean, when I played at Parks a lot for that one summer, I definitely felt like I could make money and like felt like I was good, but obviously I knew nothing about poker back then. And then
None of us did.
Yeah, at Foxwoods, I started meeting some really good players, guys that I still know, and people that are really good tournament players and cash players from up that way. There's a lot of people from the New York, Boston area. And I just became friends with a lot of pros. And that's when I kind of started really understanding the game more and learning and taking it more serious. And then, at some point I ended up like 510. So I was like, oh, wow, this is sick. And I started, there would be some sessions where I would win.
How did you get out to LA?
So then 2014, I was just bored.
Are you still with ESPN at this point?
Yeah. So I was doing mostly college basketball out there in Connecticut. And then guy who was the researcher for NBA Countdown in LA, he got promoted to segment producer, and they announced that this position opened up. So how it works is they open it up. There's like a period where you can apply, and then they decide it's up. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh my God, like this would be crazy. Like I've really pretty much never been. I was in LA like once in my life. I've never been to LA. I know nothing about it, but like it's far away. It'd be scary to be away from my family. But like, man, like I'm in Connecticut. Like, can I see myself living in Connecticut in 10 years? Like, this is boring. I have nothing going for me. Like, there's like just nothing. Like I'm doing nothing here but working. And I'm like, this would be fun to just kind of like start over, get a fresh start on life, like be more fun. So at least when I'm off, I'll have more stuff to do. LA, there's so many things to do. And I started talking to my parents, and I'm like, man, should I do this? And they're like,
by the way, shout out to your parents. Your mom, Linda,
yeah,
tweeted me asking where she could see this. So you'll have to send her the link. And Linda, if you're listening to this or watching this, hi. I like your kid. You raised a good kid. Good job. Anyway,
appreciate it. So I started asking people, and I'm like, man, this sounds scary, but like I think this is a good idea. So I asked the manager from the LA department, and I was like, hey, what do you think? Like, and he's like, listen, if you apply for this, he pretty much told me, if you apply for this, you'd be our first choice. And so I was like, oh my God, that made me feel
basically
really good.
that puts a little pressure on you in the sense of like, because then you have to actually decide like, wait, okay. And now this is not just like a pipe dream of like, hey, I'm going to apply for this job, and if I get it, then I'll decide if I want it. No, it's like, okay, I'm going to get it, so do I want to move to LA or not, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's really all it was. So it was like, I'm only going to apply if I want to do this. And shout out to, I don't know if he'd ever be watching this, but Kenton, who was my manager at ESPN, he's actually a huge poker fan too. He's actually like, afterwards, a few times I played like a WPT, and it was like too expensive for me, so he'd want to buy a piece. He'd buy like a piece of my action in the tournament. But he was my manager at ESPN. He's the one who really, encouraged me to come take the job. But yeah, so I was like, let's do it. So I moved to LA. I got the job, and then like shortly after, a bunch of my poker friends from the East Coast all wanted to move to LA too. So they all moved to LA. We ended up.
This was like 2000. This was 2014.
Yeah. So now when they moved here, it was like 2015.
Wow. So you barely were. I mean, that's amazing. So I met you. You were like here for a cup of coffee, basically, when I met you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I met you like a few months after I moved to LA.
That's what I mean. I mean, you were like right there. I mean, I had always assumed that you were there for a little while before I met you.
No, and so yeah, a few friends moved out from the East Coast, and we got a house together. So now I lived in this. This is like 2015. I lived in a house.
Is this the house in Pasadena?
Yeah. So I lived in a house with like a bunch of professional poker players.
By the way, everybody, I saw this. This house was like, It was like this gorgeous mansion house with a pool and like a really, really one of the nicest areas of LA. Certainly one of the nicest areas of Pasadena. It was right behind the Rose Bowl. Just gorgeous.
Yeah, it was cool. So that helped because I lived with poker players, so I got to talk to them all the time, and I was the only one working. And
that was the house you were with the November Niner. Yeah.
Yeah. So that like helped a lot because I was playing a lot of poker then, and
yeah, you're all in now. Like you're just like poker.
That's when I really transitioned to caring more about poker than my job, and so yeah, I kind of like got envious of them because they had this freedom. They got to go out when they wanted, they play when they wanted, you know. I was like, man, can I make it? Like, and I felt like I was as good as most of those guys, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I'm as good as them. Like, I don't know if I have the discipline, which I did at the time, but I was like, I feel like I'm similarly as skillful to these guys at least. Like, I can do this, you know. Just got to save up some money and not make dumb decisions. And so I was, you know, it was a scary thing. And then I eventually was like, just like when it was, you know, it was scary to move to LA. It was like a tough decision. It was scary to, you know, quit ESPN. You know, it was scary to walk away from Live on the Bike. Like all these things were like crazy decisions that I had to make. But in the end, like, I just felt like you have to go with your gut. You have to like, you know, see the future and, you know, see the big picture. And
I respect that, man. It's not hard. I mean, it's not easy to do that. I mean, I think there are a lot of people are just, you know, it's hard to think outside the box and make yourself uncomfortable, and I respect that because I think that's what life is all about. It's certainly something that I would teach my kids. To me, it's like, honestly, my wife a couple of months ago was like, hey, let's move. And I was like, okay. Because my attitude is always like, listen, if you don't like it, you come back. You know, same thing for you. Like, if you tried poker and it didn't work out, okay, cool. You could do something else. You'd get a job somewhere else, and you'd go back into the thing. If I remember correctly, I remember you telling me you were leaving ESPN and you were going to be a professional. You were just going to do poker, and I said, cool. And I know that in the beginning of that, it didn't really go well for you. Talk us through that period, like when you quit and then said, okay, I'm all in, I'm playing poker. Talk us through that moment of your life.
Yeah, it was just like bad timing because I was on a downswing, I remember. And things just didn't go well for the first couple months. I just didn't have the discipline.
When you say discipline, what do you mean?
Like, you know, playing too big or not, you know, not like playing when you're tired or like not cutting down sessions. Like, you know,
was this when I was working at the bike and I'd be like, it's 4 a.m. and I'm grinding a 5-5 game and you and Patrick would be sitting in the back where the Live at the Bike table was and you're playing like 3-handed, like 25-50?
Oh, that happened once. It was me, him, and Angel.
What do you mean? Once? That happened all the time. That was like once a week for like a month at least.
No, that was before that. That was when I still worked at ESPN, and he was staying with me in my house for a while. This was before he made the final table, and he stayed at my house for a few months. And we, like, on my off days or after ESPN, when I was done working, like, we would just go play all night. And yeah, that was back then. I'm pretty sure when you're talking about that was like 2015.
Yeah, that was literally, it was kind of funny, guys. Everybody, so I'd be grinding. I was one of the props or hosts or whatever you want to call it at the bike, and I'm playing the 5-5 game there because it was basically, there was really no regular 5-10 game. But then every once in a while, they'd have a 5-10 on Live at the Bike, or they would just be this really weird 25-50 game, and I would look back there, and it was like Ryan, Patrick, and like one fish or, you know, spot. And I was grinding the 5-5 game, which is $1,000 buy-in, of course, and it was great. And, you know, whether it was 4 a.m. or 5 a.m, I'd be walking back with, like, normally a couple of racks of chips. And I would see you, and I'd say hi, and we'd talk for a minute, and then I'd leave. And
I don't think those games were 25-50. You said that.
Weren't they? They were smaller?
I mean, it's possible that by the end of the session it became that.
Okay.
Like, or we did, like, you know, the end of the session. But that's not like that wasn't the game. Like, we're playing, you know, 5-10 or something, and then at the end we're playing 3-handed, and the one guy is like, hey, let's just do 10, 25, 50. You know, like, okay, sure.
Right.
It's not like, I mean, it's not like I walked and sat in a game that was 25-50 back then. Like,
no, and in all fairness, that's what most people do. Most people, you know, that you play one game, and then before you know it, a single straddle becomes a double straddle, becomes the fish is down. The fish is down 4 buy-ins, and they're like, fuck it, let's make it crazy.
What are you going to do? But, yeah, back then I was playing like 5-10 and 10-20. was like the most I was playing back then.
By the way, as I mentioned, so this show, for many of you who have been part of Under the Gun podcast through the years, it's always been a beer review show. I have not done many beer reviews lately because we haven't done it in person. But the A Hot Mess Inside a Dumpster Fire, Inside a Train Wreck of 2020 Blonde Ale is it's drinkable. It's better than Bud Light. It's not good. Who is the brewer? Absolution. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't buy it again. I mean, it's definitely like you're paying for the can and the coolness of it. Not a great beer. Anyway, we'll continue on. So you're okay. So you're in the middle of a downswing. You just decided to leave ESPN. You've gone pro. You know, you're playing in games that are maybe too big. You're tired. You're in a downswing, which has got to be like, you know, in terms of your confidence.
Right.
And just like second guessing not only your decision, but also like now you're looking at your bank account and everything. You've got to be thinking, fuck, what did I just do?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, people are asking me like, oh, do you regret leaving? Like, I'm like, oh, like in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. But like, I'm saying to them like, oh no, like this is so much better, you know. But, you know, when I decided to leave, my thought in my mind was, I'm going to try this once. And if it doesn't work out, I have to I always get a job somewhere else, let's say Fox Sports in LA.
Right.
Like, figure it out, you know?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you were literally friends with, like, I mean, Jalen Rose and you and other guys. Like, it wouldn't have been that difficult to imagine you getting a job at another sports place. Right.
I just hope that one of them would, like, refer me to get me if I needed it, you know? But I was always kind of, like, overly optimistic. That's just how I am. You can ask any of my friends, or that's how I am. Like, I'm always, when I'm confident about something or when I go into something, like, I'm always probably like more optimistic than I should be about something. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, you know?
Like this is glass half full for you, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
3/4. Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, so then like at that point I was, you know, playing Live the Bike a little bit. They let me commentate a few times. So I got to know some people, and I remember one day I just like saw that Nicole said she posted something about she was leaving, and I was like, you know, light bulb went off. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I need this job. Like,
well, this is what you wanted. Like I said, I said earlier, you literally. I remember it was still the black booth at the World Series, so this was probably 2017-ish.
16, yeah.
16, and you came in and did commentary with me.
Yeah.
And, you know, we went through hands and everything, and you talked about it. You're like, yeah, I want that. I want this. So it wasn't a surprise to me when you jumped into Live at the Bike. Anyway, continue. Yeah,
so I was just like, man, this is perfect. You know, like so many times in my life, like when I was trying to get sports media jobs, I would like I'd see a job posted on a forum, and I'd be like, oh my God, this is perfect. I need this job. But I could never even get an interview. Like I would try so hard, you know. So when this one came up, I'm like, oh my God, he's doing this, okay. And so I was like, man, it's production, it's poker, which is what I'm into right now. Like, I get to play poker, I can organize games. I have so many ideas for this show. Like, they're missing so much. Like, I want to be able to put big games together. Like, how do they not have 25, 50 games? Like, how do they not get big names in there? Like, there's so much opportunity here they're missing. Like, I want to do this for them.
And you're honestly, you're so uniquely qualified for it in the sense that you had experience with legitimate TV and production, and you were so passionate about poker.
Yeah, and I had a lot of experience working with personalities and egos and talent, so which translates to poker and to putting a show together. So like I've done so many different jobs in my life where I've had to deal with those different egos. ESPN, obviously, like you're dealing with famous people, ex-athletes. You have to talk to them a certain way, feed them information a certain way, you know? And so I was like, man, I can do this. So I just tried to figure out how do I get this job? How do I get in touch with the person who's in charge? So I pursued it. I ended up taking a prop job at the Bike. Mm-hmm. I just right then learned what that was. And I was like, they're like, oh, well, you got to play Limon Hold'em. And I'm like, whatever. I don't know anything about Limon Hold'em. I've never played before, but I'll do it.
I'll break even. I don't give a shit. I just want to get in.
The reason was because I wanted to do whatever it took to get this job. And I said, I'll have a better chance of getting it if I show how committed I am by getting a job and being here 5 days a week. They're always going to see me here. I'm always going to see the person you need to talk to, and I'm going to show them how bad I want to be at the bike.
Right.
And so I did that.
I mean, for the record, for what it's worth, every time I was there, and I played about 20, 23 hours a week, somewhere in that range, every time I was at the bike, you were there.
Yeah. I got to put a limit on the side too, but back then, I was
by the way, limit, what's your opinion of Limit Hold'em?
Oh, it sucks.
I mean, it's like literally like if you were a poker player and going okay, imagine something that you love, and then let's say you're a painter, but okay, we're gonna take away all the colors and all your imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
And just let's just
I love the creativity part.
Everything. Let's take all that out of it.
Yeah.
Now go have fun.
I mean, yeah, I love the edge, the creativity, everything.
I played Limit Hold'em last night, by the way.
Nice. Good for you.
Well, I played it. It was a 21-game mix.
Oh, that's fun.
And I'm playing with Norman Chad and a bunch of guys like that. I've been playing it for a while during COVID, and one of the 21 games is Limit Hold'em.
That's not bad.
So it's actually pretty good because they have no idea what to do.
Not only was I a limit prop, but I was a 40-80 limit prop.
Wait, so you have no experience playing Limit Hold'em and you're playing 40-80?
Yeah, right away.
Dude, that's huge.
Literally, my first day propping was my first limit. I think I played limit one time ever before that. That was it.
Do you know, by the way, can I tell you, so in 2004, you were 4 years old, okay? I had just gotten back so I had no money to my name, and I had been bugging Robert Turner, Chip Burner Turner, for a prop job at the bike for for months. And he kept saying, Dave, you're there. You're on the list. They're going to hire you. And I'm like, okay. And I kept bugging him every other month. And I'm like, okay, dude, I need to know if I have a job or do I have to go get a job? What's going on? He's like, no, you got it. Anyway, I go to Lake Tahoe with my then wife, who we're divorced now. This is my first wife.
Oh,
and her family. Huh?
I thought you were dropping news on me. I was like,
no. I'm happily married right now. My lovely wife was in the other room corralling my kids. But my first wife and I and her whole family went to Lake Tahoe, right? We played craps. And I had a couple $100 to my name. And even then, I was even though I had no money, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to gamble. Anyway, there was a woman who rolled. It was her first time she ever rolled. And I'm like, oh, they never lose. Sure enough, she rolled for 45 minutes straight. And I turned $100 into $1,400. If I wasn't a nit, I could have turned it into $15,000. Mm-hmm. And other people did. But I won $1,400. I took that $1,400 and another $600 I had, and I said, I got hired the next week by the bike to be a prop. And I was like, okay, this is my bankroll. If I lose literally, dude, that was my bankroll. That was it when I started propping. Now, I started propping 10-20, but still 10-20, I mean, that's 4 buy-ins.
For 10-20 limit? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's 4 whatever. Anyway, so I jump in, and it was insane. And I even said, I go, kind of like you, I was like, if it doesn't work, I'm gone. I got to do something else. I don't have any money. I won the first 11 sessions I played for $14,000. Wow.
That's sick.
So it was right then and there. I was like, okay, this is somebody, the universe telling me that this is what I should be doing.
Yeah.
And I went from a $2,000 bankroll to a $16,000 bankroll, and I was like, okay, I can play poker now. And yeah, the rest is history. Huh?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, God, they were wrong. It was just the worst ever. Yeah. But I ran hot the first month I was there, and
wow.
Had I not run hot that first month, who the hell knows? I didn't have money. I didn't have a bankroll that I could fall back on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a lot of. There's many poker players that happened to where back in the day when poker was amazing online days, they just put a small amount online and ran it up to an enormous amount, and that's how.
I think that's a huge. My guess would be that 90% of the top pros out there all ran hot the first few months they played. Yeah. Whether they banked a big tournament or they just got lucky and they ran and then Sean D talks about it all the time. He goes, when I first started, I sucked, but I ran like God. And then I learned how to play.
I never really considered myself a pro or anything because I always had a job and, was doing other stuff. But I would say, my story for poker would probably be the opposite. I just kept martingaling until I made it.
How did you have the money though? I just didn't either.
Whatever money I had, I was just
pouring it in and pouring it in. Fuck it, who cares?
I maxed out all my credit cards until I was able to finally pay them off a couple years ago. So
I saw that tweet, by the way. That's congratulations. It's huge.
Oh, that was I don't even know, two years ago at this point. But yeah, no,
hey, that moment when that moment when you get out of debt is pretty huge.
Yeah, I haven't had $1 of debt in since then. So whatever that was, like 2 years.
That's huge. Hey, by the way, debt's not a bad thing, especially with interest rates as low as they are.
If you can manage it, it's not bad.
If you can manage it, right? For any of you out there, by the way, if you have credit card debt right now and you're paying like 10, 12, 13, 20%, stop, please.
Yeah, I had credit cards that were like 22%.
Oh my God. I have a buddy of mine in Vegas who I talk to all the time, and he's like, "Hey, I've got a few $1,000s. I'm thinking about investing it. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Pay your credit card debt off." I'm like, unless you're going to find me an investment where you're going to make more than 22%, dude, just pay your credit cards off.
Yeah.
Or take a loan out and consolidate it and figure out a way to find a loan that's like less than 6% right now.
It took me a while to like learn that, and obviously I had to get to a point where I was like financially stable enough where I felt comfortable paying off all the credit cards at once and still have enough money to play. And
as a poker player, it's like even if you're at a spot where you have the cash to pay off your credit cards, you're still sitting like, no, I need some though to play.
Yeah, you always think like, man, I wish I had this amount still, So,
right.
But finally, I got to a point.
Go.
What was that?
So you're propping at the bike. Sorry.
Oh, so anyway, so I did that. So I did limit for like 2 months. Then they offered. So then I basically got the live and bike job somewhere in there.
Right, Nicole's leaving.
Yeah, she had left already.
Was I gone already at this point? Or was I just propping there?
You didn't work there anymore. So
okay,
I think you had left before that that summer.
Right, that was the summer. That was the summer Limon got me fired.
So the summer that I left ESPN, I think was the summer that you. I'm pretty sure was the summer that you. By
the way, I got a similar letter that you got, just like a random letter being like, "Hey, thanks for resigning." What? What do you mean resigning? What are you talking about? Thank you for all your hard work. You're no longer working here.
Sorry, 1 second.
It's okay. What are you doing?
Texting.
Booty call?
1 second.
Are you dating anybody right now?
Am I dating anyone? No.
No.
I wish. I need to find some time. You got any leads?
Anyway, by the way, so I know Ryan will go into when he got unceremoniously fired from the bike as a prop, but I also. And I've talked about this before, where I got fired from the bike. It was like really weird because for years and years and years I propped there, and then every summer they would give me 8 weeks off so I could go to Vegas and cover the World Series of Poker. Then one summer I go, and I come back and suddenly I get a letter in the mail. There's a big envelope in the mail, and the envelope is like, "Yeah, thanks for resigning." And I was like, "Oh, we saw you resign." And I'm like, "What do you mean I resigned?" And and I reach out to my boss, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well I guess they just thought you weren't coming back." And I was like. Fairly certain that there might have been a particularly bushy-haired guy named Limon that might have been responsible for that, but who knows? Neither confirmed nor denied. Once again, Ryan Feldman here. He is under the gun. If you want to check out crushlivepoker.com, our sponsor, you can get 1 month free using the code DTA501. Work on your live game during the COVID. Why not? Good time. Anyway, let's go.
So I ended up getting the gig somewhere in there and started.
Were you owner right away, or were you just working for him?
It was like a transition period, sort of. Like I became an owner in January, and I approached them in November and said that, or October, November, and said that I wanted to.
When you say them, who's them? Was it Evelyn or Brian or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to mention any names today, so.
But I've had a tell-all on Live at the Bike.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, for anybody who doesn't know, Ryan is like synonymous with Live at the Bike. But if you go back 10 years earlier, it was Bart and I who actually were the original commentators with Live at the Bike.
That's right.
So, and we've obviously I've hashed out all of my grievances with them, and we've talked about it on podcasts.
When I came back to Live at the Bike, that was like one of my first priorities was bringing you guys back because you guys were.
And I appreciate that. Anyway, continue on. Sorry.
So, and it started off, I basically said, this is what I can bring to the table. And they said, okay, well, why don't you produce a couple shows for us and show what you can do. So that was when I put together in November that year, back-to-back days, 2550 no limit, and then 2550 PLO. And that was they really hadn't had many big games before.
Dude, and for the record, by the way, wasn't their viewership numbers when you started? What were they on average?
At any given moment, it would be like really good if we had like 1,000 viewers.
Right. So like, I mean, a really good. So like an average viewership for a night was maybe 600, 700.
I remember, and we were just on Twitch, so we didn't go to YouTube till after I came on. Like, I don't remember how long after, but like, I remember, I don't know if it's true or not, but I was under the impression when I came on, as far as I knew, that the most live viewers we had at any point during a show was like 1,500.
Right. I mean, we had more back in like 2005, but that was almost a different show.
Yeah, I'm saying as far as I knew, like on Twitch. But
yeah.
So anyway, so I did that. I put together these cool like big games, and then they let me take over scheduling. So I wasn't an owner. I was just kind of like working for them. So I did the scheduling in December and January, and then at some point in January, they offered me ownership, and that's when I took over fully.
So you bought Limon's pieces?
No, I bought Nicole's pieces.
You bought Nicole's pieces when she left.
Yeah.
Do you know why Nicole left?
I know what she told me back then, and then I know what she told me years later. Yeah. Or you can ask her.
This is me asking you. Yeah.
I mean, it's like she said that back then that it was.
I know what she said back then. Back then she said, "I don't have time. I want to spend time with family." But
Yeah.
what was the real answer later on when she talked?
I mean, I think it was something similar to. It may be somewhere to a degree along the lines of like why I left, like just, I mean, you can imagine there's how many people, I mean, I don't want to.
Why? Okay. Well, wait.
But like, think about all the people that just aren't there anymore,
No, I've gone through this many times. I mean, listen, I do not hide my distaste for the one of the founders and owners of Live at the Bike, which is Evelyn Duhart. I do not hide my distaste for her.
I'll say whatever.
And by the way, I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you to back it up. I have done this on podcasts many times where I just think that I don't think she treats human beings very well, and I think that's evidenced by the fact that she has worked with Rick Cloward. He left. She worked with Kelly O'Hara. She left. She worked with Bart Hanson. He left. He worked with David Tuchman. He left. She worked with Nicole. She left. She worked with Ryan Feldman. He left. Listen, there's a saying in life, and my grandfather said this to me, and it's been said many times. Okay,
there's more people than that too. But yeah.
There's more people, exactly. But there's a saying in life where it's like if your roommate is an asshole, then your roommate's an asshole. If every single roommate you have is an asshole, then you're the asshole.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'll answer any question you have about stuff the best I can. I don't want to
No, listen, I'm not asking
my way to say things, but I'll answer the questions the best I can without
that. Listen, I'm certainly not going to ask you to put to speak for somebody else. If I want Nicole's answer, I'll call Nicole up. That's fine. I just wasn't sure if she said something to you that.
Yeah, years later she explained it differently, but whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, whatever. I took over in January, and we had the Doug Polk week a couple weeks later, and then that was it. Like, we just ran with it the next 3 years, 2-3 years. It was great.
It was great. I mean, you guys were getting 5,000 views a night on Friday nights. Your Friday night show was insane.
I mean,
when you compare that to Stones Live, which
they got like 67 people.
I mean, it was a joke, and I imagine now that we look back at Stones Live, you'd be like, you know what, they probably didn't want a lot of people because they were trying to cheat on so they were like, hey, less people watching, less likelihood anybody sees what's going on there. But that's for a different story, different time. But yeah, you were killing it. I had so much respect for the job you're doing, and I was like, Live at the Bike has always been special to me because I got my career start with that, and it was a launching pad for me in many places, for sports as well. I mean, I don't think that I cover the NFL and NASCAR if I don't, and I'm certainly not covering the World Series if I don't get my start in Live at the Bike. So there are many things that I'm really, really, that when I look back at that time, it makes me happy. But I'm also, when I think about Live at the Bike and I think about how much I love that time, I was really proud of the job that you did. And I always thought of like Live at the Bike as like synonymous with Bart and me and, the job we did. But then seeing what you did, not to blow smoke up your ass, I was just like, fuck, it's Ryan's. This is Ryan's shit, man. He is running it. By the way, I can't believe they let you go. Like, it just blows my mind. Like, you were by far the best thing that ever happened to that show.
Well, whatever. We can get to that part of it.
Yeah.
There, but I mean, yeah, I can. But, it's all worked out. Like, everything happens for a reason, and everything works out in the end, so.
No doubt. No doubt. Okay, so let's get. So you're working with Live at the Bike. Who at this point? Who is on the team? Who are you working with on a day-to-day basis?
When I first started, the owners were me, Evelyn, Brian, and Limon.
Right.
And then, but Limon kind of wasn't. He wasn't like day to day. Like he was just doing a little bit here and there.
Did his own thing, right?
Yeah.
Without most anybody who listens to this podcast knows that Limon and Bart's issues, and Limon obviously used to do a podcast for Crush Live Poker. What was Limon like to work with?
I mean, we were actually really cool at the beginning. Like I liked him a lot. He'd give me like really good advice. And
he's a super smart guy. I mean, he's so sharp.
Yeah. No, he was like looking out for me. He was like, I'm pretty sure he like vouched for me to become an owner and wanted to be. He would give me advice, and obviously he's like sometimes tough to talk to. Where you're like, is he yelling at me? Is he mad at me? Is he just like I don't know. Like sometimes you just can't tell like what he's trying to. But I respected him a lot. I knew he had a lot of wisdom, and I mean, in the beginning it was cool. Like until that weird thing happened, like everything was cool.
What weird thing?
The Doug Polk thing.
What happened with that?
Yes.
Did you? I'm just curious. Did you think I was going to have you on the podcast and literally just promote your show and not ask you a bunch of these questions? I mean, you knew this was you knew all this was coming, right?
So we had this big thing. I'm like a month into my ownership, like this big deal. Like I never met Doug Polk before. He was a superstar, like up and coming back then.
Yeah.
He was like one of the bigger names. Like everyone loved him, and
he's still big.
And to my knowledge, he had never played on a live stream back then. So like, I got just like we didn't pay him nothing. Like I literally just hit him up and was like, I don't remember exactly how it happened. I think he was like in one of our chats watching a game or something, and then I was like, hey, do you want to come on the show? I'm like, I'll put a week together. We'll do like, you play different stakes, play big games, do a heads up contest. We'll have like a meet and greet, like whatever you want. Like let's just do it. Let's make it Doug Polk week. And he was like, I'm in. Like, let's.
Was this the first week thing you were gonna do?
Yeah, this is.
I know you did a bunch of weeks, but this was the first guy.
Mid-February, like I became an owner in January. This is mid-February.
So a month into your your tenure, you're getting one of the hottest names in poker to do a week.
I booked this week before I became an owner. I wasn't an owner yet, but I just wanted to do it. They hadn't told me I was an owner yet. It was December, and I booked Doug Polk week for them. And I guess obviously that helped put it over the top because they're like, oh shit, Ryan must be capable of like doing big things for us. So like, let's bring him on. But I literally booked this in December when all they were paying me was a small amount for scheduling games. But I just wanted to do it because that made me feel good. I was like, look, I'm putting big games together. I'm putting Doug Polk week together. Like this is me, and they're like, okay.
You know what you might have done, buddy?
What's that?
The saying of like, I've heard people say like on the first date, you take a girl out. You don't want to like give her a dozen roses and take her to the nicest restaurant because you kind of set these lofty expectations that you can't meet throughout the relationship. You might have done that with Live at the Bike.
Yeah, I'm bad at that. Yeah, but yeah, and then I mean I think we did meet expectations though. But yeah, so that happened with Doug Polk week, and like a week or two before that. I don't remember how it transpired, but something like Limon was on his podcast talking about Doug and kind of like challenged Doug to play heads up or something weird like that. And I could be remembering it wrong, but I think Doug randomly called into his podcast, and it was him. And like they started talking crap, and like they both agreed and told me like, yeah, let's do it. Like let's play heads up Doug Polk week. So I'm like, okay, this is amazing. Like at that point, Limon was still like a big name in the Live at the Bike community.
Yeah, of course.
And Doug was Doug, and I'm like, this is amazing. Let's do it. We booked it for the Wednesday that week, I think. And but Limon's condition was, I'll do it. He's like, I'm the fish. He's like, I'll do it if my podcast. So like, okay, book, sure.
You broke up there, so it was the condition was, I'll play him if he comes on my podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, he's like, okay. I'm like, okay. So Doug, just do this, please. And he's like, sure. And I had never met Doug before. It's awkward.
I mean, it's a great spot. I mean, listen, Limon's a good poker player. He's made a living as a poker player for many years, but I mean, obviously he's a fish against Doug playing heads up.
Yeah, but Limon saw the business aspect of it. This is great promotion. Yeah. So that was it. I didn't clearly communicate anything else other than like, yeah, his podcast starts at 7:00. Here's the info. Here's the number. Just call in. He's like, okay. So, he didn't call in for the first like 15 minutes of the show. And Limon's like talking. He's like, where is he? Why hasn't he called? And then he's like, Ryan, like, where's he at? So like on the air, So I text Doug. He's not responding. I'm like, hey man, like, you gonna call in or what? And he's like, okay, I'll call now. As he finally responds. So he calls in like 20 minutes late. By that time, Limon had already flipped out because he wanted him to call in right at the top of the hour, and he didn't like that he waited like 18 minutes into the show. I never clearly communicated to Doug that like it was urgent to call in the beginning or he was like a special guest. So Doug, for whatever reason, says that he took it as like it's just some show with a bunch of call-ins and he's just another call-in. He didn't understand like how special of a guest he was at that time, And so Limon got mad that Doug big-timed him and didn't call in to the beginning of the show, and he was already mad about it. And so when Doug called in, Limon basically like essentially cursed him off and like hung up on him. So it became this whole thing the rest of the show where like I'm trying to get him back on. I'm trying to calm Limon down because I don't want my Doug Polk week to fall apart. I was so important to me.
Right, of course.
Beginning of my like hopeful legacy. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, listen. I have been critical on Doug. I've been critical about Doug on my podcast numerous times. I consider Doug a friend. We text once in a while. Some of the ways he goes about doing things, I'm not a fan of per se. But say what you will, he's a big fucking name. And at that point of Live at the Bike, even now, anytime, he's a huge catch.
It was. And I was so excited about it. And I was so nervous that this was going to fall apart somehow because this was so important to me. My first big thing that I was really doing on Live at the Bike, I'm trying to make a splash, trying to like be a hero, So now like Doug goes on his own podcast. And remember this. They're both podcasting at the same time on Twitch. And Doug's talking crap about Limon. Limon's talking crap about Doug. I'm trying to hit them both up to connect them to get them to call. So I get Doug to call back in Limon's podcast. He doesn't answer. A whole big thing. Finally, he gets through. Limon says something. Doug gets pissed, hangs up on him. And I'm like, oh my God. So they end up not playing now. Or no, I mean, I guess I didn't know at that time. But we were so embarrassed by it as an ownership group that we were like, man, like this is crazy. Like he's like hurting our brand here. Like it's like Doug Polk Week is huge for us. And he's like, potentially hurting us. Like, what do we do? And so, I don't want to get into all the specifics of like what went down after that, but basically, in a nutshell, like we came to the agreement that like, as a group, that like, this is bad. We need to do something about it. And we kind of like reached out to him, and he kind of, I don't want to say exactly like how it worked out, but maybe it was mutual, maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but basically like he kind of stepped down out of the limelight for a while, right. And that was kind of the agreement between both.
Is that when he left Live at the Bike as an owner? Is that when the agreement happened, or was that later?
He still kept his ownership shares for a year.
No, I know that.
He just wasn't on the air anymore. So,
by the way, kudos to Limon, who, like I said, I mean, say what you will about the guy, but the guy is sharp as fuck.
Oh, great business.
And he's a great businessman. And before he and Bart had their falling out, I considered Limon a friend. He was at my wedding, and he and I used to joke about how both of us had been able to just like essentially make a living without working a day in our life. That was kind of like the ongoing joke between the two of us. Like we just like both of us are just like, okay, well, let's figure out a way to make a living without working. And that's kind of Limon's thing, and he's always been good at that. And he's a great businessman. And honestly, when he left Live at the Bike and the deal he made, which was essentially to continue getting paid for another year, it was just brilliant.
Yeah, I don't want to speak on that, but it was
more.
It was yeah. I mean,
longer than a year.
I mean, I'll just say he's very good at getting what he wants, and like he's intimidating. Like he's an intimidating person, but it's business, and I get it.
He doesn't intimidate me, fucker. Let's go.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Let's go in the ring. Let's go. No, he doesn't. Honestly, he doesn't intimidate. Like I said, I was friends with Limon a thing, but Bart's my boy, so I've always got his back. But anyway,
so yeah, we just after that, we kind of moved on and we just evolved from there. That's when we brought you guys back on, like a month or so later.
That was fucked, by the way. So Ryan, by the way, Ryan reaches out, busts his ass, calls me individually, calls Bart, and asks us, hey, would you guys want to come back to Live at the Bike? At this point, I'd already had a falling out with Evelyn. I think I'd already posted a podcast about Live at the Bike. It was a tell-all.
Yeah.
And you basically come out and you're like, hey, can you come back? So
it wasn't easy because I also had to convince her.
No, of course.
It was the right thing to do too.
Right. So you're like working with her. You're working with her. He is like being the perfect matchmaker. You're just like taking these egos and trying to put them together. And I remember we had a meal at the bike to be like, okay, water under the bridge.
That's
let's
right.
move on.
Yeah.
And we did it. And we agreed on everything. And we signed it. And we're like, let's do it. And it fucking lasted 1 month. And they were like, yeah, okay, that didn't work.
Yeah, and
I was like, fuck this.
Obviously, that wasn't my doing.
No, of course not. I was like, really? We went through all that and you gave it 1 month?
Yeah, I don't even remember exactly what happened, but yeah. But I remember you were gone for the summer, and then after the summer, it didn't work out. But yeah. So I mean, we tried a lot of things. Like I really wanted to get like really good people involved. Like we brought Joey on at one point, and Joey did a podcast like that for a while. That was pretty cool. That helped us our brand a lot. Having a relationship with Joey. We got Doug.
I mean, that's the one thing about Live at the Bike. I mean, through the years, they have done. I mean, back when I was commentating, I mean, we had Jerry Buss, and we had, Phil Locke, and JRB. We had Jamie Gold before he won the friggin' main event on the show. We had, we had huge player after huge player on the show, and then it kind of went nowhere. And then you come in and you bring Doug Polk in, and you bring. Like you said, I mean, you brought Joey in there and everything. It was really exciting to kind of see where it was going. And I would watch on a Friday night if I was home, and I'd be like, holy shit, 5,000 viewers. Wow.
And when I got Garrett to play, like that was a turning point too, made the games bigger. That was big. Nick, Garrett, and then we had Phil and Antonio a few times, that part of it was a big turning point. That was like August 2000, the first year, August 2017. So we had Doug in February, and then August we get Phil and Antonio, and we get Garrett to play his first show, and that's when things kind of went even better after that. Okay,
so let me ask you this, Ryan. So now Limon's out of the picture.
Yeah.
You're basically running the show. I mean, I know for anybody who doesn't know, Evelyn, Rick, and Kelly O'Hara started Live at the Bike way back when, but Rick went away, Kelly went away. It was basically Evelyn. She was living in Florida at the time because she had left the bike. She used to be the poker room manager. She's no longer there. She's in Florida. Brian is like the director. He does a great job. And you're basically running the show. I mean, you're scheduling you're scheduling commentators, you're scheduling shows, and you've got everything going great. I mean, you've got, like you said, you've got Bill, you've got Antonio, you've got Doug Polk week. Limon is gone. You're it. What went wrong? At this point, it's like not only is it your show, but the show's doing really well. So what happened?
Okay, so I'll give you the best answer without like saying too much because I don't want to like ruffle too many feathers, but like I'll try to give like the best vague answer I can give you.
You know what? Listen, I'm going to give you one piece of advice because I'm a big believer in not burning bridges. Okay.
Yeah.
And the best way I've always thought about not burning bridges is just being honest. If you're honest.
Well, I want to be honest, but I don't want to like. I'll tell you. I'll do my best. So
do your best. Go ahead.
So I'll say, okay, I will say everything was great pretty much for the first like 2 years. Or no, sorry. Oh, yeah, I'm losing my timetable. First year and a few months, okay? And then
right, once like I said, Limon's gone now, and now it's like, I mean, things are Brian, JJ.
It was great. Like they had a lot of trust in me. They let me just fly, like they knew that I was like putting the best games together. We're getting ratings. Like everyone loved the shows. We had like the juiciest games. We had pros like lined up waiting to play. Like,
I mean, Berkey, everybody's fucking coming in.
I wasn't even playing in the games. Like the only time I really played in the games was like in the summer when we needed people sometimes, or like there was like a period when like a couple people were like asking me, "Oh, why don't you play anymore?" I jumped in a couple of times.
Right.
But I really didn't care about playing. Like I loved putting the games together and like.
You were the executive producer.
Yeah, I just loved it, being in charge, doing all the social media. So my personality is like I'm the type of person where if I'm doing something I'm passionate about and like I think I'm doing a great job at it and I'm succeeding, I want to do all of the work. Like I feel like if it's going well, like I don't want to delegate. Like I want to do it all myself. That's just how I am. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I don't know. But like I'll work my ass off 24/7 rather than like delegate and not be sure if someone's going to do it right or not.
Hey, listen, not to blow smoke up your ass, but some of the finest companies out there, and some of the best, most successful business people we have seen over the last, 50 years, been people that are control freaks.
Yeah.
Who
and I am,
basically,
sure.
I mean, whether it's Martha Stewart has been known to do that. Steve Jobs was that.
Yeah.
And then, listen, I'm not going to tell you you're Steve Jobs or Martha Stewart, but they have been known to be the same thing in the sense of like, they're like, you know what? The effort it takes me to teach somebody else to do the job and then fix it when they fuck it up is not worth it. I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, and that's just how I am. Like I'm a control freak, but I also just believe in myself, I'm doing. So I was doing everything. Like I was doing the social media. Like the stuff that I was doing didn't really like exist to the degree I was doing it. A lot of stuff I did after I left, they kept doing the same way. The games were the same. The way I phrased social media was the same. Like everything I was doing, they kept doing the same thing afterwards. So obviously they knew that was the right thing to do, But like I would, phrase tweets a certain way because I believe that was the right way to do it, right? Or I would like, like I was even making Photoshop graphics at the beginning. They were absolutely terrible. But before we had someone else do it, I was doing them. I just wanted to do it, I was putting the games together. I was communicating with the foreman, the dealer, whatever. Like literally everything was not saying to say everything. Like obviously the other owners did stuff too, but I'm just saying that like the stuff in the actual show was me. Brian did all of the directing. He did a great job of like putting all the graphics together, making the quality better or whatever he could do, But so he was there day to day as well. But it was us, and like
is Brian still there?
Yeah, he's still there, yeah.
Brian strikes me as one of those guys. I like Brian a lot. I really do. I genuinely like Brian. Brian strikes me as one of those guys, and if he's listening to this, he can hear it. Because 100% Brian, I have nothing but love for you. But he strikes me as one of those guys who's kind of like you, but doesn't. He's the opposite in the sense of like, there's a cliff, there's water that's 60 feet below, and you're like, I'm going to jump first. I'll worry about what's below later.
Yeah.
And Brian's just not the jumper.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. But yeah, so like it was great, because they gave me the freedom to do everything, and I felt like we were doing great, and everyone was telling me we're doing great, And so the wrong is that when I sold shares,
I'm sorry. Last time you broke up that last little bit. What was that?
I said when Limon sold his shares,
mm-hmm.
Finally, which he had to at a certain point, we had to decide who to sell them to, and
right.
I think that's where it went wrong. Is that we brought like more cooks into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And we already had 3.
At that point, was that when Dan, Zach, and JJ came in and stuff?
Yeah. So
by the way, that was one of my most bitter things about Live at the Bike, and I want to hear you continue. Was when Bart and I started back in 2005.
Yeah.
We were told time and time again that like, oh yeah, you'll be a piece of this as it grows. You'll be a piece of it, and never once were we. Not only were we not given ownership, we weren't even offered it.
Yeah. I understand.
So I was like, "Fuck,
That's
what?" Okay. Anyway, continue. Yeah.
There from the beginning.
So
you guys would have been great to be like. Honestly, it probably would have evolved more if you guys were a part of it from the beginning because you guys knew what was good. Well,
we tried, but anyway. Okay. So yeah. So Limon divested, and you brought in other cooks.
That's where it kind of went wrong is because like, I would say like, I was actually the one who vouched for both of them to come in over other people. Like I was like, man, let's get some people that are like really good cash game players, have great reputation in the community, and like that'll be great for us, because like, yeah, I felt at the time like, I think I'm much better now than I was back then, obviously, but like back then I'm like, okay, like I'm okay, but like, people don't see me as some like reputable cash game player. Like I'm a producer, and like
right.
let's show people like, hey, like we got some really good poker players that are owners. So, but I didn't think about the fact that like these are guys that are poker players. They're not business.
Who did you bring in?
The 2 that you mentioned. Dan,
Zach, and JJ. Okay.
So I didn't think about the fact that like they weren't businessmen. It wasn't their background, and I didn't think about that at all. And that's probably my fault for like really pushing for them without thinking about like how's it going to help us like.
Right. What do they bring to the table?
Yeah. So I was like, we'll just figure it out. We'll figure it out. They're great. Like let's just figure it out, And so that's kind of where it went wrong, is that like I gradually got frustrated when I was doing so much work, and now we had more people in the group who were limited in their contributions, and they didn't come up with like the ideas.
I mean, did anything change though, in the sense that, I mean, okay, so the money you were paying out to Limon now went to Dan, Zach, and JJ. Limon wasn't doing work before anyway.
I was getting less because we get paid in distribution of shares, and
so you were getting less money when they brought on.
You know what? I actually don't remember how it worked, because
I guess my question.
I think the way it worked out, somehow I was getting a little less then, but whatever. It's not a big deal.
No. I guess my question was just simply because, like, I mean, obviously when Limon quit, resigned, got fired, however you want to rephrase it, when he left but was still getting paid for that year and still technically was an owner, you were doing all the work then anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I probably could have, like, I don't know, but there's probably a good chance I could have bought more ownership shares then if I wanted to, but I never even like thought about it. I also didn't have a ton of money back then. So I probably could have, I don't know. Anyway, whatever. The thing was, like, it built up frustration because I was continually doing so much work, and I felt like some of the other people in the group weren't matching my effort level. My passion level, which I think that's my fault for like expecting so much out of other people, but I got frustrated by that gradually, and I would ask them for things like, hey, do this, and they'd be like, oh, okay, we'll do it later, and like, you're like, hey, can you come in for an extra day? Like, I don't know. That's what built up my frustration, to be honest. There was a lot of things, there was a lot of arguments, there was a lot of like with the other owners, like, it was all great before that, but after that it became just a bunch of like butting heads and like arguing over things and resentment, and like other owners thought that like I thought that like by being an owner that means they get to play in whatever games they want.
Right.
And I would say no, because I cared about keeping the games juicy, and the games were like peaking right then. The mid-stakes games, all the games, they were like peaking. They were like so pure, and I was like, no, I just can't do it. Like, if you're a good type player, like, I cannot put you in the game. Like, I'm not even playing in many of these games. Like, and I think I'm action though, but like, you can't put some type boring player in the game. Like, you have to, keep the games juicy, like protect the action players. You know what I mean?
I mean, listen, I personally think there's nothing wrong with having commentators and owners that are theoretically in the game. If it's, especially if they're a personality, Bart and I back in the day used to play on Live at the Bike. I know you played on it, and people usually were pretty excited about the fact when Bart would play in a game or if I play in the game, because they'd be like, okay, cool. They've been talking about poker for so long. Let me see them put their money where their mouth is. So that's cool, but you're not running a show so people get good games.
Right. And also, like, on top of that, like the games back then, I'm pretty sure were way different than when I was putting together. I'm pretty sure it was kind of like, oh, whoever wants to play can play type thing. No, I mean,
yeah. I mean, the games are still freaking ridiculous. I mean, it was like That's Allen, Barry Woods, Ed Shanazarian.
But I'm saying there's a lot.
But we all sucked back then, so
there wasn't like, okay, I put these games together as like a home game mentality.
Yeah, no.
Build them up as action as possible, and like pros can wait in line till later. But the game and the list, maybe there's like one pro in the game or something like that sometimes, but like, I would try not to if I could. I got better at it. I would say the first few months I didn't do that. Like, I was learning, but I would say that I learned from talking.
No, and frankly, I on my podcast that we've been talking about home games a lot and how much they have been disrupting the casino poker industry. And frankly, if you wanted to get really good games with a lot of money and a lot of live players, juicy games, you kind of had to cater to those players, and you had to cater and kind of make it a home game mentality.
And that's what I learned from talking to people, and that's what I decided to do after like a year, is like, I'm going to make these games as juicy as possible. And like, I want people to be lined up in the casino waiting. I want these games to go all night till like 6 in the morning.
Right.
I didn't get anything from that.
I mean,
I was like, I just want to say like, this was me.
I mean, if I'm a poker room manager, and we'll get to your new venture and your new endeavor over at Hustler. If I'm running a poker room, and I'm thinking, okay, Ryan's going to run this in ridiculously juicy game, and I am probably going to get an additional 10 people in the poker room that night because they're all going to hope to get in.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, that's great.
5 while they're waiting. I mean, put it this way. Okay, who's the pros, a lot of the pros resented me or hated me. The fish or the Rex, whatever you want to call them, like they loved my games.
Right.
Okay, who are we making happy? So like.
Well, at the end of the day, listen. I've always when it comes to private games and stuff like that, and I've been talking about this and I've gone back and forth because I don't even know where I stand. I think I'm not trying to be a politician here. I think it's a complicated issue. But when it comes to making a TV show, whether it's Poker Go or Live at the Bike or the Hustler, a new live show that we're going to be talking about in a little bit, it's a show. Don't forget. We're making a show for entertainment. I'm sorry if Alan Kessler is next on the list. No, he doesn't get to play.
And that's the thing is like it's tough because you're in a casino and you have floor men and you have this and you have that and people are like, oh, that's not how it works. That's illegal. It's a rule. Like blah blah blah, whatever. And it's like, man, we're doing a show. Like you want me to put a good show together? Like you have to let me do my thing. But you'd constantly get the people complaining. And the nits.
Right. And by the way, if you get 5 nits in that game and 5 pros in the game's just going to break. Everybody's going to go home.
Yeah.
And they're going to go play in a home game in the Valley.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, I never really cared that much. I mean, I'm the type where in a way, like, I hate confrontation. I hate people, like, not liking me and any of that. Like, that's something I don't like. But, like, at the same time, I had to do what I had to do to keep these games good. And we were succeeding. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? Right. And we were peaking at that time. So, anyway, I feel like certain owners may have like felt like they should get in the game all the time, and I disagreed. I was like, no, like it's just you're an owner to do ownership work to build the company.
When you say certain owners, are you talking about JJ?
I'll just say certain owners. Like
okay. Look at me. Look at the camera. Look at me. Blink twice if it's JJ.
Bluffy, bark twice if you're in San Diego. I'm just kidding. But like, I'm just like, no, like I'm putting the show together. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is I saw it as this is my job. And other owners saw it as like, no, this is all of our jobs.
Right. By the way, it's not a slight on JJ. If I was part owner, I watch those games. I want to get in those games too.
Yeah.
Bart used to commentate on Live at the Bike to get into some of the games.
Yeah, and
it was so good.
It was, but I would say that, like, in my opinion, I feel like there was some jealousy that was created because of that, of how good the games were and not being able to play in the games all the time and having control of everything.
Maybe if they worked on the games, maybe if they actually took their time and scheduled the games, they could do it as well.
Well, then they would know how hard it was.
Right, exactly. Bust your ass trying to get a game together.
Finding out how hard it was.
Please, during COVID, I ran.
Like, oh wow! Like, I didn't realize how hard it was. I respect you now.
Dude, during COVID, I ran a Sunday tournament on PokerStar's home game, right? Just for fun. It was like $100 buy-in, little home game thingy, and I was running that because I was like, just for fun. It was like I had the goalie on my hockey team play. My dad played. In fact, one night I actually got heads up with my dad for the win. It was just one of the best poker moments of my life. It was just so much fun. And every Sunday night we'd play, and my dad would play, and I'd Zoom my dad while we played. And even organizing that, like Aaron Queskin would play, Salzburg would play. It was a fucking pain in the ass, dude. I can't even imagine what the work you did.
I mean, I enjoy it, but it's So I would say that there was some maybe I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but something like that may or may not have. I feel like that might have been possible. And I think that may or may not have had something to do with a lot of the butting heads and disagreements on things.
But what were disagreements about at this point? Because at this point, it seems like everything is kind of good. Like you're getting 5,000 views a night. It's looking great.
My product was good, but behind the scenes,
what was going on behind the scenes?
Just a lot of arguments over dumb stuff. Like
what?
I mean, I'm not going to get into everything, but
give me one thing.
I would ask. I felt like I was doing a lot of work. I was producing the show. I was doing social media. I was there all day, every day. I was commentating. I was doing a lot, right? Which I loved. I loved doing it. No complaints. But there you go.
What's up?
Yeah, can you feel? I've been drinking a lot at home games, by the way. It's it's like 5 shots, mandatory. So I felt like I was doing everything. Now I'm not complaining because like I like doing the work, like I said before, but at the same time, when there's now more cooks in the kitchen and now they're like the way the pay structure works out where they're making more money because I felt like mainly because I was working my butt off to increase the revenue, which means they make more money. I felt like they should now step up and do more and offer more to match my work, right? That's just how I feel. I could be wrong, but that's how I felt.
No,
so,
I mean, listen, listen. There's resentment like that in a marriage, a company. If one partner in a marriage, if one partner in a business is doing a lot of work and the other one's not, resentment can build. I get it.
Yeah, and so it would just be something stupid. Like I'd be like, hey, can you do this commentary shift? Like, hey, we got a tournament. Can you do this tournament? Like, and then some people in the group would be like, no, I don't really feel like it. And I'd be like what? Like you're an owner. Like what? Like what? Why?
And if nobody did it just fall on you?
Yeah, or they would say like, why don't we just pay someone else to do it? And I'm like, because you get paid to be an owner. Like the way I see things in business is like, okay, like if you're a restaurant, right? You don't say, if you're an owner of a restaurant, right? Say me and your owners of a restaurant, right? I wouldn't be like, so I wouldn't say like, hey man, like I'm gonna work 40 hours a week. Like no, I would be like, I'm gonna work my ass off and be there as much as I can, do as much work as I can because I'm building the value of my own company. There's no like limit to how much I'm gonna work. That's how I see it now. Maybe I'm different from some people, but that's how I see it. So when an owner who has equity, whose value is gonna increase by the work we put in, is like wants to limit on like how much they want to work per month. To me, that's like a slap in the face. Like, man, I'm doing so much, and it's like raising your value. Like,
no, it's also a matter of right. If you've got to call in me or somebody else and pay somebody else to do the commentary that day because they don't want to do it, that's money. That's money out of all your pockets. Yeah,
exactly. That's how I see it. Like, oh, sure, one thing is like, it cost me $100 or $200, whatever. No big deal, sure. But like, it adds up, and it's the principle, So that's kind of how I saw it. That's where a lot of the disagreements were. And then
where was? I'm curious. So Evelyn is the majority owner of the company, and she's in Florida at the moment. She's the one who founded it. Where was she in all this? What was her? I mean, did she take a leadership role? Did she have an opinion?
I don't know. You can figure that out. What do you think?
Well, no, I know I can figure it out, but I'm asking you because I'm curious. I mean, listen, it's like if I owned, I know she owns. I think she owns 60% of it. If I own 60%, and I could be wrong with the numbers, but if I own,
nobody was like strongly on my side. Enough that I felt that people weren't on my side as much as I would want them to be on my side, and I felt like I didn't have the same support I did when it was just three of us. And so yeah, that was kind of it's just hold on one second, sorry.
Ryan's got a lot of stuff going on, guys. So he is like, I mean, he is basically like, if you ever watch the NFL draft on TV, like Adam Schefter, like answering texts in the middle of like the conversation.
No idea.
He's doing
it busier now because of all this. Like,
no, I know. You're like dealing with texts and stuff like that. It's cool. It's by the way, it's mind-boggling to me. Like, if I owned the company, if I owned the majority of a company, and I had somebody like you come on board and was busting their ass, I just can't imagine a scenario where I wouldn't have your back. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna blindly support you, but I just can't imagine a scenario where I would want to alienate the one person who's working his ass off.
Yeah, and like that's kind of like how my feelings were, and like I just felt like there was a lot, like there was like maybe one or two people in the group had like strong opinions on things, and then maybe there was like two people that like were kind of like, what do you call it, like Switzerland or whatever, like you know what I'm saying? Like, is that the term? Like somebody that just kind of
yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, by the way, Brian was Switzerland. I almost guarantee it.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, so I don't know. Just the frustration grew for a bunch of different reasons, and like, and it was and it was
gather your thought.
You
setting up home games.
Okay.
Or is this the new venture?
No, just something else. But okay. So anyway, so then by right at that time, like right after that, was kind of like when I did all the $1 Million Cash Game. So amongst all of this like frustration, right, I still was like, let's kill it.
You're still killing it, right?
we put together the $1 million cash game in December. I put the $1 million cash game in December, right? Crushed it, right? Now we're going to put another one together. January, February, we did really well. I think it was, I want to say, I could be wrong on the dates. I believe it was the last week of February, first week of March. I think that's when we did the second one was the best one, right? We had like 13,000 views at one point, like 125,000 total views. It was sick, right? And so this frustration kind of kept building a little bit. And then there was a thing that happened where, like, again, the same thing kind of happened. And I was like, hey, can I get some help? Like, need some help. Like, can you do this? And like, I just didn't get the same cooperation again. And like, I kind of just got frustrated. And I was like, guys, like, I asked for a few things. I was like, listen, I'm frustrated. This is what I want. I asked.
What did you want?
I wanted something. I wanted to feel like appreciated. Like during this time, I felt like.
When you say appreciated, what do you want? You wanted a massage? You wanted more money? What did you want?
So like, hold on. So during this time when we were peaking, I felt and maybe I was overreacting. I don't know, but I felt like underappreciated. Like, and maybe they did appreciate. Maybe I just felt that way. I don't know. I felt like I was pulling a lot of weight and I wasn't getting the like respect that I wanted. Okay. And I felt like I wanted something, to show appreciation, to be like, hey, you know what? We're crushing it. Like this is our best week of all time. We got the most subscribers of all time. The most money we've ever made. Like, thank you. And I didn't feel that way.
So you just wanted to thank you?
No, I mean, that would have been nice, but no, I wanted like, either hire like a salary or like hire more ownership or like whatever, or I wanted everyone to pull their weight more, and like,
something.
Now I probably approached those.
By the way, you sort of sound like my wife.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, when she's vacuuming and she's doing the laundry and she's making dinner and she's like, can you do something? And that's when I usually step in and I go, hey, we all appreciate you.
Yeah. And like, that's all I kind of wanted. And I felt like I wasn't getting it. And like, I asked for more, they kind of blocked. Or like, or they kind of offered me something not that I didn't like. And like, eventually I was just like, screw it. Like, I'm out of here. And they kind of
So you quit?
Yes.
So what happened to your ownership?
They sent me a final offer after the one time I finally said no.
So you quit and they offered you more money?
No.
Or...
So the final offer they offered me, and I didn't even respond to it, or maybe I responded and like.
What do you mean final offer? Final offer of what? You quit?
No. Before I quit, I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Before I quit, we were like negotiating or whatever, and like I said, this is what I want.
What did you want?
Like, I'm just saying, I listed like things that I wanted in terms of like.
I know. I'm asking you, what did you want?
They were all like monetary things, or I wanted other things to happen. That
I got you. That's cool.
Whatever. I don't want to get into all that.
No, it's fine. I wasn't sure if it was a monetary thing or something else. I was curious what you were actually asking for when you said, "Hey, I'm quitting if I don't get this."
There were other things, but I don't want to. I don't want to disrespect anyone. But they just basically, I guess, decided that whatever, we'll be fine without Ryan if he leaves, or they just thought I was never going to leave. I don't know which. Or someone's in their ear telling them like, "Hey."
What was their final offer?
It doesn't matter. They offered.
Was it an insulting financial offer, or was it something?
Insulting. Yeah, because it was like worse than their first offer. They didn't even realize. And I was just like, so literally, they offered me it, and I think like I want to say like it was like Friday and like Monday, I sent them a letter, and I was just like, I'm out, and it probably shocked them, maybe, I don't know, but I was just like, I'm walking away, I didn't feel right.
I mean, listen, it doesn't shock me at all because I have seen like when Bart has had to negotiate with Evelyn for like Crush Live Poker content so we could use for our videos. The negotiation process with her has been utterly ridiculous. I can go back to, you'll like the story, Ryan, as you text. You'll like the story. So back in late 2006, I have been working for Live at the Bike for a year and a half, almost 2 years already. And, I'm in London at the time. And I had come up with an idea to do the Heads Up National Championship. And I said, let's do a national Heads Up Championship on Live at the Bike. We'll get like 64 players. They'll play heads up. It'll be awesome. Okay, this is 2006, by the way. Yeah. So I go to my contact because I was covering the $1 Million Cash Game with the Full Tilt that was sponsored by Full Tilt back then, and I go to the European Poker Channel in there, and I have a meeting with them while I'm in London because I'm dating this girl, and I have a meeting with them and I go, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna produce this. Do you guys want the exclusive rights? We're gonna produce it. You guys have the exclusive rights to. We'll give you Europe. They wanted Europe, Australia, and Canada, and we get all of North America. We get the rest of. You get the whole United States, okay? And they were going to offer $50,000 US, 25,000 pounds at the time. It was 2-1 to help in production pre. And all they wanted was the rights to Europe, and it was going to promote Live at the Bike. We were going to have Live at the Bike on the fucking thing, and I was like, cool. And I'm negotiating this. It's all done. Like I had written up a whole Bible of how the National Heads Up Championship. Wow. And I worked my ass off on it, and I'm in London. I'm negotiating this, and I go back to Evelyn, and she just goes, "You have no rights to negotiate for me." And then she comes back and she goes, "If they want this, they should pay like $200,000 for it." And I'm like, "You're on fucking drugs." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" They're not. I'm like, "Listen," because they even said, they're like, "Listen, if you want to produce it yourself and then try to sell it to us, if it's really good, we'll buy it. But if you're asking us for money up front because Live at the Bike didn't want to put the money up front, then, we want the rights to Europe, Australia, and we'll give you $50,000 up front." I got that for him. And that was my last straw. That was when I was like, okay. And I still remember Evelyn actually saying, I was in London and I had like a Live at the Bike thing and I was still negotiating. And she goes, "If you're not home for your shift on Tuesday, you're gone." And I was like, okay, later. And that was the end of it. But it was just it was just surreal to me. And by the way, the Heads Up Championship happened on Live at the Bike. Nobody watched. The production value was shit. And they spent a lot less than $50,000 they would have gotten from the Poker Channel. So, I get what you're saying. I imagine they probably never thought you would leave. Or, again, going back to 2006 and 2007, I remember, Evelyn's big thing was she always thought the show was what the people – she never wanted one of her commentators to get big. She just wanted the show to get big. So I think she always resented the fact that Bart and I started getting a little bit of a fan following from that.
Yeah.
And I imagine the same thing with you. She probably just assumed, like, I don't – the show is what sells. I don't need anybody. I don't need you, Ryan. So, so they send you that last offer and you quit.
Yeah, that was it. I walked away, and that was it. And
you're still working at the bike, though.
Yeah, and then there's like a whatever thing, how it works with the contract, and basically I was still there for a few months after that before I sold. But
who'd you sell to?
I sold to the company actually, and then they redistributed. But I actually sold it to the company.
So Evelyn.
The company as a group, yeah. Okay. And then they sold it to Wayne, I guess, or I'm not even sure actually.
Okay, cool. I like Wayne.
Yeah, me too. So I kind of stayed around for a couple months. I put together like a few more games for them.
No, you were busting your ass at the end. I kept talking. I remember talking to you about it. I was like, "Why are you still working?" And you're like, "Oh, well."
Yeah, I was gone, but I was like, it was like a gray area, and I still put together like that big game where Jackie had like the big pot against Andy,
Yeah.
And then later, even when I was like basically gone, I kind of got the Helmuth game together with Madisel and Cantu and stuff in August, but yeah, I stayed at the bike. I took a break. I took off for a couple months. I went
This
back.
is August of last year?
2019, yeah.
Yeah, so right before COVID, yeah, okay.
So yeah, I took the summer off. I came back. The bike wanted me to stay.
They wanted you to stay on Live at the Bike, or they wanted you to stay as a prop?
Well, they wanted me to, for both, but yeah, they wanted me to stay to like work there, and so we kind of like had negotiations, and like I was supposed to stay and host games and organize off-camera games, but it was just like it was a mess, and I did do it. And I put together like a bunch of games and I crushed it for a few months, and they promised me basically, like off the record, promised me a bunch of stuff, and then after a while they're just like, "Oh, sorry, we can't." Yeah.
What kind of things? What did they promise you?
Like a host salary bonus based on
rake
increase, other stuff like just, and I was just getting paid as a prop in the meantime because I was just waiting to get this deal done.
Right. For anybody who doesn't know, by the way, prop can make anywhere between $25 and say, $50 an hour, but it's usually like it might be $15 an hour and then rake back.
Yeah.
I don't know what your deal was, but I'm assuming it was somewhere in that realm.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of just like did a bunch. I focused on the off-camera games, but it was like there was a lot of tension because like I wasn't involved in the show. A lot of the players from the show gravitated to my games because they know that I'm gonna have the better games. So I kind of had some off-camera games, but they didn't like that I was kind of like.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. I imagine Wayne, and by the way, I genuinely like Wayne. I think Wayne's a great guy. But I can just imagine Wayne commentating on like Live at the Bike game, be like, "Okay, well, this game's not very good, but the fucking side game that you can't see with Ryan is awesome."
Yeah, that happens sometimes. But like, no, I mean, people still liked playing on the show, but some of the people kind of played in the other. But yeah, so whatever, I did that for a few months, and then once I realized nothing was going to happen there, I kind of focused my priorities otherwhere, to focused on, okay, what do I want to do next? And
what was that?
Try to get a show at another casino. And
so you were still intent on, hey, I want to produce, I want to commentate, I want to put on a live stream.
That was my goal. Like even like when I left, like my goal wasn't like I'm gonna walk away from poker. Like no, it was like I have bigger dreams. Like I want to build something. Like I don't know how it's going to take. Find an opportunity, but I had some some things where I was like, okay, maybe this will happen, and then there were some things that were close, and then they kind of a couple of them that were like really close, and then it didn't happen, and then once.
Were they all based in LA, or were you actually considering going outside LA?
No, I was never moving outside of LA.
Okay.
So then when COVID hit, it kind of like. It was just ended up being a blessing for me and opened up more doors. And then
why? How? Because you're the only one. I mean, everybody else is like. That's a lie. Actually, I've had many poker players on who have been like, I feel guilty because 2020 has actually been a good year for me. I've had many guys on like that.
I'll say that once the casinos closed and people were quarantined, that poker players still wanted to play poker.
Right.
And they all and like most of them. Still like aligned towards me and like wanted to play in games with me or games that are organized.
Yeah, by the way, thanks for the invite to all those games. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Too good. So I'll just say that like I've been very close with like a lot of people. I'll also say as a side note that I've quarantined.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Quarantine brought the best and the worst out of people. So I'll also say that I learned a lot about people during quarantine too, I'll say.
I imagine. So 2020, by the way, hey, listen, don't forget, a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck, 2020.
That's accurate. So yeah, I'll just say that like during quarantine is when I started, Hustler reached out to me and we started talking.
Really?
And they were really interested, and they didn't know.
When you say they reached out to you, who specifically?
Sean, who's the GM there, who's great. And like, do you know Sean?
I know of him. I think we've met once, and we now follow each other on Twitter.
Yeah, he's awesome. So like he really wanted to do this, and he didn't reach out, so because he didn't know before that I was going for the Biker Live Bike because I never announced it. They never announced it for whatever weird reason.
Yeah, it was kind of just like this quiet, like
let's
just sweep this under the rug. I mean, honestly, if you're live at the bike, why would you announce that your best asset is leaving?
Yeah, I guess they were probably, I don't know, whatever. You can draw your own conclusion, but like, yeah. So this kind of came about early on in quarantine, and we've been talking since then, and then we've been working on it since then. And like,
so what is the, okay? So what is this? And obviously, you and I have been talking. I've been trying to get you on this podcast for a long time, and you've been telling me I can't come on because I can't really be honest with you, and I want to be as honest as I can be. I need to wait. Big news, obviously. You announced it on Twitter a couple of days ago. Let's get into this. So let's talk about what is next for you, my friends.
You want me to see if Nick wants to join?
Yeah, well, first let me hear. I wanted you to get in, but I want to hear just 5 minutes of you, and then let's get Nick. Yes.
Sure.
Nick, by the way, is Ryan's partner and in this endeavor. But I want to hear your take of like how you got involved, what you're doing, and then you can tell me how you got Nick involved and how this is all going to play out.
Yeah. So this is Hustler Casino Live is going to be a live stream poker show at Hustler Casino, and we're just trying to do some of the similar things. Like we're trying to build a show every weekday that all different stakes from small or from mid to high stakes, and characters and action players, and we want to put together the best games, and we want it to be entertaining, and we want it to be high quality production. We want to have great commentary. We're just going to go all out. Like we are going to sacrifice and do what it takes to make it a great show. And not only are we, meaning me and Nick as the owners, putting in an insane amount of effort, and the biggest thing is the casino is so behind us, and they're investing so much into this, and they're going all out, and that's the biggest thing that makes this so much easier for us.
I lost you last part. Hold on, start again. For some reason, your connection's a little bit shoddy right now. But
I said the biggest thing is that the casino ownership and management is so behind this. They're so heavily invested financially and otherwise. That makes it so much easier for us to do this successfully. It's like they want this to happen, and they're going to do what it takes.
That's great. So tell us, okay, is this show basically going to be live at the bike, or is there going to be something that differentiates from it? What do you think you're going to bring to the table?
I think it's just going to be like, I will say that I think it's going to be way bigger than any LA live stream poker show, in my opinion, I think. Which would
in fairness, that's going to be bigger than any live stream show anywhere then.
Yeah,
is there a live stream show somewhere else that I don't know about that's like?
Well, PokerGo has like an infinite budget, so like
PokerGo, but I don't consider PokerGo like a live stream.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
a channel.
So yeah, like we're gonna make this amazing. Like I promise you, it's going to be so sick, and I'm so excited to just get it.
Text Nick, by the way, while you tell us this. Let's get Nick on there. We'll talk about more about this, because this is one of the reasons, by the way. So anybody who's out there, I'm just going to read Ryan's tweet. It's pretty cool. Pretty exciting, by the way, because Ryan and I have been talking about this for a while.
The one thing is that we have to wait a few months because of the COVID regulations, and we can't do it until casino gaming indoors resumes. But that gives us a lot of time to build everything, right. Test it.
If you go to Twitter, by the way, you can go to @the Ryan Feldman. Here's Nick Vertucci and I signing the deal to make it official. HCL Poker Show coming soon to Hustler Casino. Says introducing Hustler Casino Live, a new live stream poker show coming soon to Hustler Casino. Brought to you by Ryan Feldman, Nick Vertucci, 5 days a week on YouTube, mid to high stakes with all of your favorite LA players and poker celebrities, and best of the best commentators. Really exciting news. Like I said, I mean, as a commentator, but also more importantly as a fan of the game, I'm pretty excited about this because, to me, the more the better. And, like I said, I mean, I was really impressed with the job that you were able to do with Live at the Bike. And I imagine with ownership behind you, supporting you, it'll only be better.
Yeah, exactly. It feels really good. And, yeah, we're just so excited. Like we just have a good team of people putting it together. We're bringing on a good team of people, and you're going to
Nick, can you join us?
He said he can. He's at his daughter's volleyball game.
Okay, fair enough. Well, listen, we'll get, why don't we get you and Nick on again?
Another time. Yeah, when we get closer.
That's what I mean. Like, if this is, whether it's March, whether it's April, whenever COVID allows, you guys to actually have your first show, we'll get you guys on that week.
All good. Yeah. But, yeah, it's just exciting. Like, you're going to be surprised. I'm not surprised, but you're going to be like, just when you see like the people involved.
I mean, is it going to be the same kind of games? Are you getting, is Garrett, are all those players, are they following you? Are they loyal to you?
Yeah. Well, what do you think?
So I'm asking you.
Yeah, of course. Like, I would hope so, and we expect it. I mean, I have me and Nick have a really cool group of players that we're really close with. and we believe that you're going to see that on the show that we're going to have like the coolest group of people.
And will this be on YouTube and Twitch?
We're just going to do YouTube.
Okay. And any details about it? I mean, is it going to be a subscription model? Is it free? How do I watch it? What's going on? I mean, again, we know it's months away still, guys. But Ryan and Nick literally signed the deal this week. It's pretty exciting. New live stream show out of Hustler
I don't
Casino.
want to reveal too much yet,
Okay.
if you don't mind, but I don't want to like give away all the tricks of the trade of what we're doing. But it's going to be big and it's going to be different, and it's going to be great for the fans. Everyone's going to love it. Just the structure that we're doing, the design, like everything is just going to be really cool. We're going to be putting a lot of effort into it. We're going to be, it's going to be different. It's going to be like a real broadcast. You're watching like a professional broadcast. And I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to blow up very quickly.
That's cool. I mean, as many of you know, I actually worked at Hustler for a while. I had a little bit of I wouldn't even say falling out, actually. I had an issue when my second child was born. We had, wait, Vertucci's here.
Oh, you got him? Okay, cool.
We got him.
Yeah, I told him. He said he might be able to.
So, I mean, I really like the Hustler Casino. I mean, the food there is good. The dealers there are there. The floormen are good. I was brought back. A good friend, Alan Lai, was actually one of the tournament directors there. He was there, and so I'm a fan. Where is Nick? I admitted him. Nick,
you know what?
you?
Hey,
oh, we can't get you in video? Okay.
I can't because I'm at my daughter's volleyball and I'm on my phone.
Hey, dude, that's cool, man. Priorities. I like that. That's more important. Hey, so we just got Ryan's life story, okay? And, I mean, 83% of our listeners are crying. It's like a Hallmark show. It's really been sweet and everything. We got the whole thing. His mom is listening. It's wonderful. But now we are on to your latest venture. First off, congratulations to you and Ryan for pulling this off. As a fan of the game, I'm super excited about this. I think it's going to be great. I know, obviously, you played on Live at the Bike, and you and Ryan, got to know each other then. But talk us through, very quickly. I know you're at your daughter's volleyball game. Talk us very quickly how this endeavor happened, how it occurred, and how excited you are for it.
Sure. So this goes back a long way, and I'll tell you, there's been a lot of speculation of how this came to pass. And I'll tell you, like you said, I was a player at Live at the Bike. Had a lot of great times there. Loved playing there. But, as a businessman, and I got to know Ryan and we became friends. And as a businessman, I just bring up some things. I'm like, hey, man, why aren't you guys doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Like, there's so much meat on the bone here. Just things that automatically come to me. And, Ryan kind of let me know that, maybe there was a lot of decision makers and it was hard to get things, passed through Congress over there. And again, I want to be careful because I don't have any, I don't have any bad blood with anyone or anything real negative to say other than the fact that was just kind of how it started. And then I know, Ryan made a life decision to kind of excuse himself over there because it wasn't going in the direction of what his vision was. And I'll tell you, I give him a lot of credit for that. And, at first it was, I think Ryan, looking to get out of there, do his own thing for a while. And then over time, we started chatting. Originally, it was just going to be maybe me, funding some of his endeavors and him doing his thing in the industry he's in. And, I've been playing poker for years. I love poker. I've recently, shut my business down. That was live event, real estate training. And so I've been playing a lot more poker, creating some businesses around it. And then, fairly recently, Ryan and I have gotten together and decided to, really go forward and to do something in poker. And Ryan, I don't know if Ryan gave you the details, but we wound up making this deal happen. And I'm really, I'll be honest with you, I'm excited for myself because I really think we can do some amazing things here. And I love the poker industry and I really want to focus on things I love now. I've created a lot of businesses, a lot of success, and now I'm really looking to just do what I love. But I'm really, really happy for Ryan because I don't know what you guys have talked about so far. I haven't been listening, but he's come a long way to get to this point, and he deserves it, man. And I'll say this straight. Ryan, in my opinion, made Live at the Bike what it is. Now, that does not mean that there's some not great people there. There's someone there. I'll even say his name, Wayne. I love the guy. He's a friend of mine. I hope he's still a friend of mine after this. But the fact of the matter is, before him, Ryan made that show what it is, and I don't think it could go any further because of some of the things I mentioned. And so Ryan made a huge life decision to walk away from something, and it was probably scary to do it. And I'm proud of him because now we've come together, we put this together, and we're gonna crush it.
I love it, Nick. I love it, man. Hey, listen, we're gonna get you back on. I know, due to COVID, obviously, your first show probably won't be for a few months, and that'll give you guys plenty of time to kind of iron out the details, cross the T's, dot the I's, and make sure that you guys knock it out of the park, which I know you guys will. But we'll get you guys both on right before the show airs, and we'll get more of the details then.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Be happy to do it. I'm excited about it. I'll be in a better position where I can focus more and have a long chat with you. But yeah, I appreciate you even having me on for a few minutes.
No, it's great. I honestly, I kind of had a whole journey of Ryan's life, which is why I wanted to have you at the end because, Ryan, Ryan is showing his dog now. I mean, like, literally, it's been. I feel like who's that ESPN guy that makes everybody cry in their interviews?
Roy Firestone.
Yeah, I feel like him. Like, honestly, I feel like we've gone the whole full gamut.
Well, Tuck, I don't know if this means anything, but that dog really, really loves peanut butter. He really loves peanut butter. So you figure it out.
Nick really loves repetitive jokes.
I know.
Hey, I've never heard that joke before, so I'm okay with it.
Well, that's why I said it to you, because I've said that 1,000 times, but I figured you'd like it. So
hey, listen, I appreciate it. But we'll get you on again. We'll talk about it. Hey, what position does your daughter play in volleyball?
She is an outside striker, and she plays some middle.
Okay. Is she tall?
For her age, she just turned 16. Yes, for her age, she's tall. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, go cheer on your daughter, man, and we'll talk to you soon. Congratulations to you and good luck.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, buddy.
Later. Ryan, man, super excited about all this. This is pretty cool. And for any of you out there wondering, if you read the tweet, you see what I'm talking about. Both Bart and myself will be involved with this at some level. Obviously, doing some commentary and stuff like that. But I am. I'm thrilled to be involved with it, and Ryan and I have been talking about it for a long time. And
guess who else gave me their commitment to be involved to some degree too, commentating? Nicole.
That's awesome. I love it. Oh wait, I'm gonna throw you under the bus. This is gonna be hard, but I'm gonna do it live. I reached out to a friend of mine who I thought might be fun to do some commentary with. And, you might not get the most analysis, but I think certainly, pretty well-known commentator in the poker world. How about Norman Chad and I working together occasionally?
Did you actually mention this to him?
I did.
Oh, all right. Okay. Well, let's talk off. Yeah, that was yes. Obviously, yes.
Are you interested or not?
Yeah, obviously that was like someone I wanted to go to, but I know that he hates working, so I didn't know if he'd want to do it.
No, I asked Norman yesterday. Norman yesterday, and he said he would if he's working with me.
No way.
So despite the fact that Norman will publicly say that he hates me and that he can't stand any time with me, I have it on my phone that he said that he would only work with me.
All right, let's talk off. That's amazing news. Like, yeah, obviously.
No, Norman will definitely do it, 100%.
I have his number right here. He never responded to it. My only text I listened to, but yeah, no. Let's talk off podcast.
Okay. Are you guys gonna live stream? I mean, obviously Hold'em. You're gonna do PLO. Are you gonna do other games as well? I mean, 'cause I'm just thinking, Larry Flint plays that huge stud game. I mean, what about live streaming that?
I mean, my plan is no limit. We'll do some PLO. Obviously, if we can get a Phil Ivey stud game, then yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. I remember. Okay, so when I first started working at Hustler, and by the way, I started getting into it, and then Nick joined us. For those of you who were like, "Hey, wait, Tuck, didn't you work there? What happened?" Da-da-da. Okay, so I was hosting it. That's a cute dog, man. What's your dog's name?
Bluffy.
Bluffy. I love it. How old is she?
He's almost 3.
Almost 3. Hey, Bluffy. How are you doing? Hey, Bluffy. Oh, there you go. Anyway, so I actually love working at Hustler, and I really loved it. And when my second child was born, and my wife had to go back to work, I had to change my schedule. And one of the people there, who's no longer there, by the way, would not be flexible with my schedule, and I had to leave. And I was kind of bitter about that. Funny thing was, about a few months later, I was hired back, and I worked there for a while. So, like I said, I mean, I genuinely think it's a great casino. I like it. I like it a lot. But I know when I first got hired, Larry Flint, they would occasionally be like, oh, like the guys will fly in, and there'll be a big game, and they would kind of drop everything and be like, oh, Larry Flint's game. It'd be kind of cool if we can get that game on the on live stream once in a while.
Yeah, obviously, for sure. And by the way, not only will Nick and I be, putting the show together, but we'll also be working with the Hustler to put together off-camera games as well. We're going to be sort of responsible for building the limit section out there. The 5 games. So, we're gonna have a lot of responsibility there, a lot of flexibility.
Well, the live stream is add to that so much. I mean, because you figure, if you're bringing in, 3-4 days a week players that play that game, there'll be other players that come in that are going to want to get in that game, and they're going to, where are they going to play in the meantime?
Of course, but yeah, we're going to have a lot of, I'd say like responsibility in terms of the whole, 5-10 plus no limit section or 5-5 plus. But yeah, I'm going to be there I'm going to be there as much as I can. Like I'm literally moving in 2 months to move closer to there. So
where do you live now?
I'm in Koreatown now.
And where are you going to move to?
Probably like somewhere around Redondo, probably.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's actually cool. So one of my favorite things was a buddy of mine who was I played hockey with him, but he's a personal trainer. His gym was like 2 blocks from Hustler. So I would literally go work out with him in the morning and then go play poker.
No way.
So it really worked out well. Cause I sometimes when you play poker all the time, you feel like just like a set of, you feel like kind of a lazy piece of shit cause you're just sitting on your ass all day. So it was kind of cool. Like I'd get up, take my kid to daycare, get some breakfast, go work out for an hour, go take a shower, and then play poker for 6 hours, 7 hours. It was kind of a good day.
I think the place has a lot of potential. I think we're going to be able to help build Hustler up into like an amazing poker room, and with how great their management is and how invested they are in building it up, and like them having the trust in Nick and I think that together we're going to help to like a really top-notch poker room in LA.
Yeah, no, it's pretty exciting. I mean, we'll like I said, we'll get you and Nick back on to talk about the details as we get closer to the launch of Hustler Live. Just in case your mom is watching, by the way, have you been able to see her during COVID?
No, it's been over a year. I'm gonna meet her in Florida where my sister lives in December. So yeah.
Nice. Well, if she's watching, do you have anything to say to your mom?
I mean, I talk to her like an hour a day, probably. So.
Yeah, but come on, but I don't get to hear those conversations.
Hi, Mom. I miss you. I'll see you soon. Love you.
We all miss you, Mama. Mama Ryan, I love it. Anyway, dude, hey, thank you so much for your as candid as you possibly could be. I think people could certainly read through the tea leaves on some of the stuff, and we wish you the best of luck going forward, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm really excited. I'm excited to work with you again. I'm excited to just like build something special, and I've said this many times, like people I'm close with, but the most important thing to me in a way is like my legacy. And, I could go and like, at this point run poker games elsewhere and like make a lot of money. But like my goal was to have a show, and to build something special and have a legacy, and people to be able to say like, you built that up and that was sick, and thank you for putting these shows together. Like that was always the coolest thing to me when I was at the other show. It was like I'd be at the World Series in the summer, people would come up to me and be like, like, oh my God, you're the Live at the Bike guy, like, or oh, you're the guy that you're the Armenian Mike guy. Like, just like people organizing and being able to come up to me and like say like, hey, like thank you for putting those shows together, they're great, I watch it all the time. And even now, like that we announced this, random people messaging me, texting me, I see people at games and they're like congrats on the Hustler thing. Like to me that's the coolest thing, just having the recognition from the community and having a legacy and knowing that I'm like doing something that's like positive for the community. And that's like important to me. I'm just excited to be able to do that again.
and do it even better now this time. Like this time around is going to be 50 times better.
Hey, listen, you have every reason to be proud, and I said this to you when you first told me the news, just privately, and I said, sometimes it can sound, patronizing when you tell somebody that's your peer that you're proud of them, but I genuinely am. I mean, like, you've been through a lot, and like I think your journey is really interesting. Taking the leap from having a normal job and a regular job and a good job with ESPN to moving out to LA and then quitting that and being like, fuck it, I'm gonna try poker, and then going to Live at the Bike and being like, you know what, fuck it, this isn't working for me, and then doing this. Your journey is, I think, intriguing and fun and inspiring. And like I said, I mean, I wish you all the best, and I think I speak for many people in the poker world. So congratulations to you. Good luck to you. We'll talk.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
By the way, guys, listen, if you want to follow Ryan on Twitter, all of his information when it comes to all the stuff that's going to be going on at Hustler, follow him at Twitter at the Ryan Feldman. And you can see everything that's going on.
Follow the new show. As we get closer, we'll have more content. But the new show on Twitter is at HCL Poker Show, and on Instagram it's at Hustler Casino Live.
There you go, Hustler Casino Live at HCL Poker Show and at Ryan Feldman, at the Ryan Feldman. Ryan, man, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Later, buddy.